Okay, people. So Signature just hit me up with this new horror film, I guess. It's called Alone at Night. Right? It was formerly known as 18 and Over. Maybe you saw it as that. Right? It's directed by Jimmy Giampopoulos, who co-wrote it with the Mendes Rule Bermudez. The film is produced by Ashley Benson, the Mendes Rule Bermudez, Cassius Corrigan, and Sienna Oberman. It's executive produced by Terry Dugas and Jamin O'Brien. It is associate produced by Kemi Guzman and line produced by Nancy Yali. G-Eazy and Goody Grace handled the music. Peter Buntain, cinematography. Fernanda Cardoza and Leo Scott edited the piece. Joshua Pedersen, production design. Set decoration is Shanae Ford. Joanna David was costume design. Hair and makeup, we have Sarah Tintari, Daniel Coulter, and Jennifer Bucala. Our cast. Well, Vicky is played by Ashley Benson. Her good friend Stacy is played by Sky Ferreira. Stacy's cousin Jake is played by Jack Weary. We have got Max, played by John Foster. The pizza delivery boys, played by Duke Nicholson. The handyman is played by John Robinson. There is Lauren, who we see at the start, played by Winnie Harlow. Tom Montana is played by G-Eazy. Deputy Wayne is played by ASAP Nast. Sheriff Rogers is played by Pamela Anderson. Trap Star's host is played by Paris Hilton. You got Jazzy, aka Lou, played by Luis Guzman. Lindsay is played by Lindsay Pilaz. Deadass is played by Tyler Dean Flores. Kim is played by Clara McGregor. Twan is played by Twan Kuiper. Chai is played by Chai Fontanette. Shannon is played by Shannon Hamilton. Cassius, played by Cassius Corrigan. Spence is played by Stephen Spence. Janice, Jeremy Frett. They both play trap star contestants. And Luca Blue Darnell and Beverly Rose are the two trick-or-treating kids we see. So the gist of the film is this. Vicky is a young woman looking for an escape after going through a harrowing breakup. After retreating to a friend's remote cabin in the woods to clear her head, she continues modeling sexy lingerie for her devoted followers on 18 and Over, an adults only live streaming website. But when the power keeps going out, Vicky discovers something terrifying awaiting her in the dark. A masked killer wielding a crowbar who's hell-bent on bringing her night to a grisly end. That is a very weird synopsis, people. It's very weird because, she wasn't on 18 and Over. That was suggested to her by Stacy, right? She did lingerie stuff, but we don't know where. We don't really know about the breakup. I think the breakup was because her boyfriend caught her modeling the underwear, which I mean, you're gonna be a bit pissed, right? If that was going, if that what like if you gone went into a relationship and you knew that was happening, then you can't really get pissed because you knew that's what Shorty was doing. You know what I mean? But if you're dating and then someone goes into something like that, right? Starts up an OnlyFans, does porn, you're gonna be like, firstly, what? What's happening here? You know, and especially if you're not even told about it, you discover it, you're gonna be pissed, right? You're probably gonna break up with that person because it's a trust thing, you know what I mean? But we don't really know what the gist of that was, right? And then the whole thing of she discovers something waiting for her in the dark. Again, not really it, right? That's not really it. It's so weird how these things are put together, right? Makes no sense. Damaging for the film as well, because it lets people think they're getting one thing and they get something completely different, which is kind of the gist of this movie. There's Alone at Night. Feels like it's amalgamum of so many different thoughts, right? And ideas, you know? There's the whole trap star thing. It's like this reality TV show that they're watching, but you just kind of like, why is it here? You know, it doesn't need to be here. And I don't know if the people on this show are supposedly influencers, like that people would know. I don't know because I have no clue who any of them are, but I don't follow influencers. That's not my thing. You know what I mean? So maybe they are. I have no clue. But it just if they are, it just feels like it's a cheap way to try and get people to view your thing. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, we're making a movie. It's an indie movie. How can we get people to pay attention? Let's put in all of their favorite You know, it feels like it was that, right? Paris Hilton is the host. It could have been anyone. Like she brings nothing to this role. Like there's not much to it, but she's just it's pretty it's a one-dimensional role and she's pretty wooden in it, right? Now, to be fair to her, as I said, it's one-dimensional role. There's not a lot there. But yeah, she doesn't bring any like you're not thinking, right, let's pay Paris Hilton a bucket load of cash, but she's gonna kill this one. No, no, I'd have saved the money. I would have saved the money, people. The rest of the story, you know, we kind of seen it before. Strangers, like, you know, get caught up in something, and you know, these people that seem to be something else, and blah 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 blah. Right? It's one of those stories, and there there seems to be a lot of holes. Right? She goes to this remote cabin and she's moaning, "Oh, I'm so bored. I've got nothing to do." But she knew she was going there. So you kind of think, wouldn't you bring stuff to keep you occupied? Right? You've got all your music and stuff on your whatever device you're using. Right? You'd bring books or you'd be reading ebooks or something. Like you'd bring stuff. You're not going somewhere like that with nothing, because that just seems insane. Right? And the other thing with it, right, is your friend's cottage, cabin. You'd think they would give you the lowdowns, right? Be like, yo, the electricity cuts out, You know what I mean? Like, this is an issue. Oh, there's this, you know, oh, this person, my relatives, blah, blah. Give you all of that intel. That's what you know what I mean? That's a logical thing. So a lot of the things that come up, you are scratching your head as like, doesn't really make any sense. Like, what's happening with that? Also, because it starts off with this whole penthouse situation. Now, the thing with that is, doesn't necessarily make any sense when you go further into the film, you know, because she's only doing a certain type of video. So it's just like, yeah, that whole beginning bit, you know, it's referenced later on, but you're like, wait, but didn't this thing only just start? So yeah, it's a bit, it feels a bit muddled, a bit all over the place. There is a part in the film where Vicky and someone else does drugs. It is a terrible, it's a terrible depiction of drug taking. Oh my God. Firstly, right, the drugs they take, you want someone in the room that's sober, right? You want someone that isn't, to help you through the experience, especially if it's your first fucking time. So that was just weird. And then it looks like they're both having the same kind of experience. It finishes for both of them at exactly the same time. You're just like, that's not a thing. That's not, what are we doing? It's not going like that. It was because everything that you've heard about the drug they take, it's a different experience. It's not what we see here. So it's very, it was just kind of pointless. Again, it's something that adds nothing to the story. And there is a lot of that. There are a lot of these elements that don't really add anything to the story, you know, which is baffling, right? It's a shame because we saw Tyler Dean Flores last week in Miguel Wants to Fight. Real enjoyable. This, I mean, his character is just terrible in this. It's just, it's the weird trap star segment, and it just doesn't really work. Doesn't really work. Yeah, it's an odd film. It's a very odd film. It's like it's caught in no man's land because it's trying to be so many different things. So many different things. And I'm sure that, you know what I mean, in the conception of it all, there's a great idea. And they worked really hard to try and bring that to the screen. But it just feels very muddled, which is a shame. It's a shame, man, because you know people work hard on these things. So you want it to be a success. You want it to be like enjoyable. And even if you don't like it, you'd be like, other people should. But I don't know. There's so many things. Like the accent Pamela Anderson puts on in this is bizarre. It's bizarre, right? And her character relays a bit of information to Vicky. Relays information to Vicky, but for whatever reason, she just doesn't pass it on. But it basically, that information lets you know that, yeah, it's a mess. It lets you know that it's bullshit. But yeah, it's, I have no clue, right? That's the thing. I have no clue what went on with that, because we have the sheriff say this thing, which is pretty clear. And Vicky knows, She's heard it, and the sheriff says it, I think, a couple of times, 2, 3 times, something like that, right? But does nothing with it, and it's just like, but that's just let you know the lay of the land here. Yeah, there's like just the way other people act, like the way the pizza dude acts is bizarre. The way the handyman bizarre. Is just there's so much bizarreness going on. It's crazy. It's crazy. Also, like she's staying in this cottage. Cottage, I guess, I don't know. You call it a home, cottage, a thing in the woods, right? It's old. It's made of wood. It creaks. You know it creaks, which means you know that, yeah, basically you know it creaks, which would, you know, speak volumes about your actions in this film, but it doesn't. Doesn't. Another bizarre element. Oh dear, people. Oh dear. It is a shame. It's a shame, right? I look, I always come into these things wanting to dig them. I just, this one doesn't resonate with me. Doesn't resonate with me, people. But trying to think of something that would coalesce with you. Something that makes you go, yes, that's a similar thing. I like that. I'll do this. But I'm kind of drawing blanks a little bit, right? I can't really necessarily think of anything. But I guess just think of a horror film that is using social media as its backbone, right? The whole influencer thing, trying to make a statement, just all of that kind of jazz. But this is essentially what this is. It's using that. It's using, because there was the Netflix film, I think, called Cam, but that's a far better film. That was good. Yeah, I cannot think of anything to give you a parallel, unfortunately, people. Now, as soon as I end this, I'm gonna think of so many things. It's all gonna come flooding in. But yeah, as of right now, I'm drawing blanks, people. Which yeah, a little frustrating. Ain't gonna lie. But yeah, I mean, just as I said, look, you have to go. I mean, the scary of the 61st, kind of, but not really. But you could maybe in that sort of vein, right? I think that's as close as I'm gonna get right now. But yes, if you like influencers and maybe you recognize these names and you think, oh, I want to see that person, right? Then yeah, have at it, son. Have at it. But Alone at Night is out this Friday.